welcome back to MINDtalk, where we like to bridge the disconnect between what brain science knows and what people do. Well, what I'd like to speak to you about this week is something called intrinsic memory. Now, these are not memories in the traditional sense where we can consciously remember them. They are things that we learn that are dangerous, that we learn that threat. But all this learning happens on an unconscious level. Now, last week we spoke about the amygdala. Now, the amygdala is that part of the brain, part of the limbic system, which is part of our fear response. It is our home security system that's on 24/7, constantly monitoring our surroundings for anything that could be of danger or threat to us. But the memory bank that the amygdala draws from comes from the intrinsic memory. It collects everything in our lives, through our whole narrative of our lives. It collects all these incidents, situations, and events and stores them. And they use them as a reference point for anything that could pose a danger to our lives or to our limb. Now, extrinsic memory are things that we can recall. They are memories that we have, the barbecue on the weekend, what we did last week, what we did last year on vacation. Those are extrinsic memories. Now, there were 2 experiments done. Now, subjects were put into what's called an fMRI, a functional magnetic resonance imaging. Now, it's an expensive tool that brain scientists use to monitor what's going on in real time, what's happening in the brain. And what the experiment was, they flashed a number of faces. Now, the faces showed expressions of sadness, anger, fear, happiness, ecstasy, but they showed it at such a rate that the subjects weren't conscious, or they didn't recognize any of the faces. It just happened so fast. Now, throughout the experiments, nobody was scared. They were just relaxed. Anytime that they showed a face that showed anger or fear or sadness, the amygdala would light up. Any of the other facial expressions, such as happiness or contentment or what have you, there was no reaction from the amygdala. But what this shows us, because the subjects were calm throughout the experiment, it shows that the amygdala accesses these intrinsic memories at an unconscious level and reacts and fires up. And this has to do with the path 1 and path 2 that we spoke about last week. Now, a second experiment they ran was they looked at, they gathered a number of pictures. It was sort of flowers and birds, and then was spiders and snakes. Again, they were randomly sorted, but they were shown at such a rapid pace that the subjects weren't conscious of actually what they were seeing. Now, it happened at an unconscious level. Again, they measured the amygdala in this fMRI. And what it showed was that the amygdala flared up, it fired up anytime it saw a snake or a spider. Anytime it saw a bird or a pretty flower, no response. What this proves to us in both experiments is that the amygdala is constantly looking for anything that's dangerous and threat. That means we're more wired in our heads to look for more negative things than positive things. Now, this has a lot of survival benefits, because it was always good. It was better for us to be in a constant state of mild anxiety anytime we saw the tall grass move, because that could mean a predator. It could mean a lion waiting to devour us or our children. You know, those of us who were constantly relaxed and we didn't respond to that grass, well, more than likely their genetic line is no longer with us today. If you notice yourself, there's always this mild level of anxiety that's humming just below your conscious level, but it's there. But that's your amygdala tapping into your intrinsic memory, constantly searching, monitoring your surroundings for constant danger. This also means that anything that happens to us, even though 99% of it was good, we will tend to harp on the 1% that didn't go well. But until next time, keep well, and we'll speak soon.